The sky glowed red and strange black figures moved in the smoke, tall, armored, inhuman. Their faces were hidden behind masks of silver glass. The recording ended abruptly, leaving only the sound of something heavy moving closer before the screen went dark. Baron stared at the frozen frame. "Those aren't pirates," he said quietly. "They're soldiers." He transmitted the data to Earth immediately. Back home, Admiral Ryan studied the footage again and again. The shapes, the armor, the silent precision, it all matched Dominion design. He recognized the patterns carved into their armor, the same used by the elite units called the Cleansers, who once purged worlds in the name of strength. "They're back," he whispered. "And they're not hiding anymore." But still, the Council refused to act. "We can't provoke them," Hale insisted. "We'll send envoys, request talks, find the truth peacefully." Ryan turned away. "You can't reason with ghosts," he said, "especially the ones we buried." As the argument continued, the lights in the chamber flickered. The screens around them shifted, showing a single transmission breaking through the secured network. The message played automatically, filling the air with a deep, distorted voice. "You built peace on fear. You built mercy on weakness. The Dominion returns not as conquerors, but as judges." The message ended with a symbol, an ancient crest of the Dominion burning in crimson light. The room went silent. No one spoke. The council members looked at one another, pale and shaken. Finally, Hale whispered, "What do they want?" Ryan answered quietly, "They want us to remember who we were and what they made us become." Outside, in the night sky above Earth, something flickered near the outer defense ring. A scout drone detected a faint signal, multiple warp signatures appearing at the edge of the solar system. The Dominion wasn't coming. They were already here. The operator's hands trembled as he reported it to command. "Sir, unidentified fleet entering sensor range." No response to Hale's. "They're just watching us." Rion stared at the radar, his eyes narrowing. "Hold your fire," he ordered. "Let's see what they do." For 3 long hours, the alien ships remained still, hundreds of them black against the stars. Then, as suddenly as they appeared, they vanished. No warp trail, no trace, like shadows fading into night. The message they left behind was clear. "We're watching. We're waiting. And you're still weak." When the sun rose over Earth the next morning, the galaxy was no longer at peace. The name Dominion spread like a storm across every channel, every planet, every whisper. Fear returned to the hearts of those who had forgotten what war truly meant. Admiral Ryan stood once again before the stars, his reflection dim in the glass. "If it's war they want," he said softly, "then war they'll remember, far beyond human space, deep in the cold void." The Dominion warlord Azaran watched the same sunrise from his flagship. His voice was calm, almost pleased. "The gentle ones have forgotten how to fight," he said to his second-in-command. "Let's remind them what mercy costs." And with that, the fleet began to move. Darkness rolled across the stars as the Dominion fleet moved silently through the void. Their ships were shaped like blades gliding through space without sound, their black hulls absorbing light itself. Each ship carried the same burning crest, the mark of judgment. At the center of this armada stood the flagship Obsidian Crown, vast enough to eclipse moons. Inside its command hall, the Dominion warlord Azaran sat upon a throne of steel and shadow. His face, hidden behind a cracked mask, reflected the cold light of the dying stars. Around him knelt his commanders, their armor humming softly with restrained power. "Eden 7 burned well," one of them said, his voice mechanical and sharp. "The humans still hesitate." Azaran's tone was low, almost calm. "As they always will. Compassion is their disease. They forget that peace is only the silence between wars." He stood slowly, towering over them, his long cloak sweeping across the floor. "They call themselves gentle ones now. Let us see how gentle they remain when their skies fall." Light years away in the gray corridors of Earth Command, Admiral Ryan watched footage of the Dominion ships gathered from deep space probes. Every movement, every formation was precise, military, and ruthless. The Dominion was no longer rebuilding, they were ready. "How many ships?" Ryan asked. The analyst swallowed. "At least 200 confirmed, maybe more beyond sensor range. And they're not alone. Slave fleets from other systems are joining them." The Council still refused to declare war. "We must send envoys," said Councillor Hale. "Violence will doom us." Ryan looked at him coldly. "We're already doomed if we wait." He turned off the projection. Every second you waste, they grow stronger. But the council remained unmoved, trapped in their belief that peace could still be negotiated. That night, Rian sat in his quarters, surrounded by silence. He looked at the stars through the viewport, remembering the faces of the lost, the people of Eden 7, the soldiers of old wars, the children who would never wake under the same sun again. His hand hovered over a locked console. He hesitated, then entered a code known only to him. A message blinked to life. Project Dawnfire, status dormant. He stared at it for a long moment, then whispered, "Maybe it's time to remember who we were." Meanwhile, in orbit above the outer colony of Kestrel 9, human scouts detected strange signals. The transmissions were fragmented like whispers and static. Lieutenant Sarah, now stationed aboard the Dauntless, listened carefully. Between bursts of noise, she could make out voices, alien, rhythmic, chanting something in unison. The same 3 words repeated again and again: "Mercy breeds decay." Before she could record more, the signals vanished. Seconds later, the colony's main reactor went offline. The command deck filled with alarms. "Power loss on Kestrel 9, a technician shouted. Multiple unknown ships approaching. Varen ordered defensive shields raised, but before the systems could react, the enemy arrived. Sleek black ships cutting through space like arrows. They moved without warning, no communication, no demands. Plasma beams lanced through the colony's defense grid. Every structure that shone with light went dark. In less than 10 minutes, Kestrel 9 was gone. When news reached Earth, even the Council could not stay silent. Panic spread through the network channels. Citizens began evacuating outer systems. The message from the Dominion had spread everywhere. Mercy is extinction. The once proud unity of human worlds began to tremble. Admiral Rian called an emergency meeting with senior fleet commanders. Holograms flickered around him. Captains from across the colonies, faces grim and tired. "We can't keep waiting," Rian said. "We prepare now or we die unprepared." Some agreed, others hesitated. "The Council will never authorize it," Captain Varen warned. "Then we don't ask," Rian replied. "We form the Ghost Fleet again." The words hit the room like thunder. The Ghost Fleet, the name whispered in history books, was the secret strike force that had ended the First Dominion War. They fought in the dark, beyond laws, beyond mercy. It had been dissolved generations ago when humanity swore never to fight like that again. But now that promise was breaking. Rian's eyes hardened. "They will burn our worlds until nothing is left. But if we strike first, if we hit their heart, maybe we can stop them before it's too late." Slowly, one by one, the captains nodded, far across the galaxy. On the Obsidian Crown, Azarin stood before a massive holographic map. It showed every human world glowing softly like embers. He pointed at one. The blue dot marked Earth. "They still live in light," he murmured. "Let us teach them the beauty of darkness." His second in command, a tall figure with molten eyes, bowed. "When do we begin?" Azarin smiled behind his mask. "We already have." Back on Earth, Admiral Rian watched as the last transmission from Kestrel 9 played on his screen. Flames, screams, static. He turned it off, his face unreadable. Outside his window, the city lights shimmered below, unaware that war was already here. In the deep void between stars, the Dominion fleet disappeared again. No trace, no signal. But in their wake, small colonies began to vanish one by one, leaving only silence and burned stone behind. The galaxy began to whisper a new name for humanity. Not the gentle ones, but the waiting dead. Rian met with his closest officers in secret. "This is the shadow before the storm," he said quietly. "They're testing us, measuring us. Soon they'll come for Earth." He looked out the window, eyes sharp. "We won't wait this time. The moment they strike again, we strike back harder." That night, he stood alone in the war archives once more. He opened a sealed container untouched for decades. Inside were old medals, battle records, and a photograph. Young soldiers smiling in the sunlight before the First Dominion War. Beneath the photo was a phrase etched into metal. "To protect the living, sometimes mercy must die." He closed the lid, his decision made. As dawn rose over Earth, a quiet command spread through encrypted channels. Old ships hidden in forgotten hangars began to awaken. Their engines rumbled after 100 years of silence. The ghost fleet was being reborn. And somewhere in the darkness, Azaren's voice echoed through the void. You gave peace to the stars. Now the stars will give you fire. The shadows of the Dominion were no longer whispers, they were moving, and the universe held its breath. The council chamber on Earth was silent. Only the soft hum of the air filters broke the stillness as Admiral Ryan stepped into the room. The doors sealed behind him with a heavy metallic echo. Before him sat the 12 members of the Earth Council, their faces pale under the blue holographic light. Behind them, the banners of peace fluttered softly, symbols of a world that still believed kindness could outlast violence. Rian stood tall, his uniform dark and plain, his face lined with sleepless nights. He placed a small device on the table and pressed a button. A flickering image appeared in the air, the final moments of Kestrel 9. Flames consuming towers, civilians running through smoke, and the last screams before silence. The footage ended abruptly, leaving the faint sound of static echoing through the chamber. That, Ryan said quietly, is what mercy bought us. The counselors shifted uncomfortably. No one spoke. Finally, Counselor Hale, his voice trembling, said, Admiral, we are sorry for the loss, but we cannot rush into war. The Dominion may still listen to reason. Ryan's eyes darkened. Reason? He repeated. You still believe they want peace? They erased entire worlds to send a message. Mercy makes you weak. That's their language of reason. He leaned forward, his voice calm but sharp. Every moment we hesitate, they grow bolder. 8 and 7, Kestrel 9. How many more before you understand? Counselor Vale, the oldest among them, sighed. We built this peace after centuries of blood. If we fight again, humanity might not survive another war. Ryan nodded slowly. You're right. We might not. But if we don't fight, we won't survive at all. The chamber fell silent again. Outside the great window, Earth turned slowly below. A perfect blue sphere surrounded by defense satellites, cities shining like stars. For generations, people had believed they were safe. Now that illusion was dying. Rian placed another device on the table. This time, a holographic projection of the Dominion fleet appeared. Hundreds of ships, black and sharp, moving like a single organism. This is not a raiding force, Ryan said. It's a cleansing. They're not here to conquer. They're here to erase us. The council looked at the hologram with growing dread. Hale spoke again, his voice uncertain. Even if we fight, Admiral, we cannot win. Their numbers are greater. Their technology is advanced. Ryan turned to face him fully. Then we adapt. We fight in shadows. We use what they don't expect, our will. The same will that built worlds from nothing, that survived extinction once before. He paused. You all sit here because people died protecting that will. Don't let their sacrifice mean nothing. But the council was unmoved. You will not act without authorization, Vale declared. If you disobey, it will be considered treason. Ryan's jaw tightened. He knew this moment would come. He took a deep breath. Then call it treason if you must. But understand this. When the Dominion comes, your laws won't save you. Only strength will. He turned to leave, but Vale's voice stopped him. Admiral Ryan, stand down. That's an order. Rian didn't turn back. The Dominion doesn't wait for orders, he said quietly. Neither will I. The doors opened and he walked out, his boots echoing across the polished floor. The sound followed him like the heartbeat of a dying civilization. Outside the council hall, the sky was burning red with the sunset. Ryan stopped for a moment, looking out over the city. Airships floated lazily between the towers. Children played in the parks below. None of them knew how close the stars were to falling. He activated his wrist communicator. This is Ryan. Initiate Operation Dawnfire. Across the galaxy, encrypted codes awakened. Hidden hangars deep within asteroids began to open. Old ships long forgotten stirred as their systems came back to life. Engines that had slept for 100 years roared again. The ghost fleet was rising. Meanwhile, on the Obsidian Crown, Warlord Azaran watched his tactical displays. His commanders awaited his command. The humans will break soon, one said. Their leaders are divided. They lack the courage to strike. Azaran tilted his head slightly. Do they? He asked softly. No. I remember their courage. That's what I fear most. He turned toward the stars, his mask reflecting their pale light. When they finally abandon mercy, they become unstoppable. On Earth, Ryan stood on the command deck of the Vanguard, the flagship of the reawakened Ghost Fleet. Before him, hundreds of ships aligned in silence, their hulls dark, their weapons armed. He opened a channel. "This is Admiral Ryan. You've all seen what they've done. You know what's coming? The Council won't fight, but we will. We fight not for revenge, but for survival. No banners. No politics. Just humanity." The response came from every ship at once, a single word that echoed through the void. "Understood." Far below, in the council chamber, alarms began to blare. "Unauthorized fleet movement detected," a security officer shouted. The counselor stared in disbelief. "He's actually doing it," Hale whispered. "He's starting a war." Vale looked out the window as the first ships of the Ghost Fleet vanished into the dark. "No," he said softly. "The war started the moment we stayed silent." As the Vanguard entered the void, Ryan looked out at the stars. They glittered like 1,000 cold eyes watching. "You wanted judgment," he murmured. "Now you'll see what mercy truly costs." Behind him, the fleet engines ignited, leaving trails of blue fire across the darkness. Humanity was done waiting, and in the depths of space where the Dominion gathered for their next strike, the first shadow of human vengeance was already moving toward them. The silence of peace had ended. The storm had begun. The void was endless and cold. For centuries it had been silent, a graveyard of forgotten wars. But now it trembled once again. The Ghost Fleet moved like shadows across the stars, invisible to scanners, silent to communications. Each ship carried the same insignia, a black star burning through white wings, the mark of those who no longer fought for mercy, but for survival. Admiral Ryan stood on the bridge of the Vanguard, staring at the holographic map projected before him. Red dots marked Dominion patrols drifting like embers across the galaxy. "Target confirmed," said Captain Veron. "Outpost 9, Dominion Supply Station. Minimal defense." Ryan's voice was calm but cold. "No prisoners. No warnings. Strike fast and vanish." The order spread through the fleet. Moments later, space erupted. The Ghost Fleet fell upon the Dominion outpost like thunder in the dark. Plasma beams tore through enemy ships before they could even raise shields. The station's alarms screamed for only seconds before the entire structure burst into fire, collapsing in on itself. When the flames faded, nothing remained. No signals, no survivors, only silence. It was the first human victory in 100 years. But it came with no celebration. No songs, no cheers. The fleet simply turned and disappeared again into the dark. Ryan watched the burning wreckage from his command deck. His reflection stared back at him from the glass, and tired, older, harder. "They'll come for us now," he said quietly. Captain Veron nodded. "They'll know we're back." Ryan gave a thin smile. "Good, let them." Within days, whispers spread through the galaxy. Dominion patrols destroyed, entire stations gone without trace. Alien traders spoke of a ghostly human armada that struck in silence, leaving behind only ashes. They began calling them the Vengeance Fleet. In the Dominion stronghold, Warlord Azarin watched the reports flood in. His lieutenants argued, some furious, some afraid. "It's them," one said. "The humans have returned to the old ways. They're fighting like before." Azarin said nothing for a moment. Then he turned, his molten eyes glowing behind his mask. "Good," he said softly. "I was starting to miss the war." He waved his hand and the map shifted. "Find their base, crush it. I want their admiral alive. I want to look into the eyes of the man who remembered how to fight." Back on the Vanguard, the crew prepared for the next strike. They had grown efficient, mechanical, their compassion replaced by precision. They no longer spoke about peace or treaties. Those words felt distant now, like a forgotten language. Every victory came easier, and every death felt smaller. In the lower decks, Lieutenant Sarah sat alone by the viewport watching the stars. Her hands trembled slightly. She had been the one who found the message on Eden 7, the one who first saw what mercy had cost. But now, as she looked into the empty dark, she felt something heavy inside her chest. Something she couldn't name. Captain Veron found her there. "You did good out there," he said. She didn't look up. "Did we?" she asked softly. "We're becoming like them." Veron didn't answer. He didn't have to. Meanwhile, Ryan received new intelligence. Coordinates of a Dominion weapons facility hidden deep within an asteroid belt. It produced the plasma cores that powered half their fleet. Destroying it would cripple their strength. But the risk was enormous. The Ghost Fleet would need to go deep into enemy space, beyond the reach of reinforcements. Ryan didn't hesitate. "We go," he said simply. "End it before it grows." The operation began at dawn cycle. The fleet emerged from warp inside the asteroid belt, weaving through floating mountains of rock and metal. The Dominion's defenses activated immediately: mines, automated turrets, and hidden drones. The battle was chaos. Explosions bloomed like stars lighting up the darkness. The vanguard shook under the impact of enemy fire, alarms wailing through the corridors. "Shields at 60%, shouted Varen. "Hold the line," Ryan ordered. "Focus all power on the station." Missiles streaked through the void, piercing the Dominion fortress. The entire asteroid trembled as fire burst from its core. The explosion was blinding. Even from light years away, sensors detected the blast. The Dominion's weapons supply was gone, but so were 4 human ships and vaporized in the blast. Ryan stood silently as their transponders blinked out one by one. "They knew the risks," he murmured, "and they chose to fight." After the battle, the fleet regrouped in a dead system, a place without light or name. The surviving crews gathered in silence. Some prayed. Others just stared into the void. Ryan walked among them, his face unreadable. "We're not fighting for vengeance," he told them. "We're fighting so no one ever burns like Eden 7 again." His words were steady, but his heart was heavy. On the other side of the galaxy, Dominion broadcasts began to change. Fear crept into their voices. Reports spoke of invisible human ships attacking supply lines, striking from nowhere, then vanishing before counterattack. The once proud Dominion soldiers began to whisper that the humans had no souls, only wrath. But for humanity, victory came with a price. The Council on Earth branded Ryan a traitor. They declared the Ghost Fleet rogue. Official channels ordered all loyal forces to arrest him on sight. Earth wanted peace even if it meant surrender. The Council believed they could still negotiate with the Dominion, that words could end what blood had already begun. When Ryan heard the news, he simply smiled bitterly. "They'll thank us later," he said, "if there's anyone left to thank us." He stood once more before the window of the Vanguard, staring at the stars that now seemed smaller, colder. "War changes everything," he said quietly, "and it changes us most of all." Outside, the Ghost Fleet floated in the dark, silent, waiting. Humanity had struck back, and the universe had felt its wrath. But somewhere deep inside, a quiet truth lingered in every soldier's mind. The more they fought the Dominion, the more they became like them, and far away, aboard the obsidian crown, Azaran smiled beneath his mask. "Now," he whispered, "the gentle ones are gone. Let's see what monsters they've become." The stars above Earth glimmered like cold eyes watching judgment unfold. The Ghost Fleet, once humanity's hidden sword, had vanished into the outer dark weeks ago. The Dominion's losses were mounting, but so was Earth's fear. Every victory Rian won without permission made the Council's peace look weaker. Every Dominion ship destroyed made the diplomats angrier, not prouder. Humanity was winning the wrong kind of war. Inside the Great Council Hall, the 12 members sat beneath banners of white and gold, their voices low but sharp. The air was heavy with tension. "He's disobeyed direct orders," Councillor Hale said. "He's attacked without authorization, endangered peace, and violated interplanetary law." Vale, older and calmer, stared at the glowing table map showing the Ghost Fleet's trail of destruction. "And yet," he said softly, "the only reason we're still breathing is because of him." But the others didn't listen. "Ryan has gone too far," Hale snapped. "He's become exactly what he claims to fight, a warmonger. If he keeps this up, the Dominion will never stop. We must act before he drags the entire species into extinction." The vote was cast within the hour. The Council officially branded Admiral Ryan a traitor to Earth. Every human ship not under his command was ordered to detain or destroy the Ghost Fleet on sight. The news spread across the network like fire. One transmission after another filled the airwaves. "Ryan's fleet has turned rogue. Admiral defies Earth command." Peace broken by human hands, but Ryan didn't respond. On the Vanguard, he stood before his officers, the glow of the Dominion war map reflecting in his eyes. "They've declared us traitors," Captain Varen said quietly. "Our own people are hunting us now." Ryan didn't flinch. "Then we stay in the shadows," he said. Let them call us traitors if it helps them sleep. We fight for the ones who can't. Lieutenant Sarah watched him from across the bridge. The crew had grown thinner. Every mission cost lives. Yet Rian never hesitated, never showed fear. His silence was steady, but it carried something else now. Guilt. Far beyond human space, deep in the black clouds of the Dominion's border, Warlord Azaran listened to the intercepted human transmissions. "They've turned on their own," he said, amusement in his voice. His second-in-command knelt before him. "The humans fracture easily, my lord. Should we attack?" Azaran's molten eyes glowed faintly. "Not yet. Let them break themselves first. The sweetest victory is the one earned with your enemy's own hands." Weeks passed. The Ghost Fleet struck 2 more Dominion strongholds, vanishing before enemy reinforcements arrived. Each battle brought new scars, new ghosts. One night, Sarah found Rian standing alone in the observation bay. "You haven't slept," she said softly. "I don't need sleep," he replied. "I need time, and we're running out of it." She hesitated. "Do you think they'll ever forgive you? Earth, I mean." Rian didn't look at her. "Forgiveness is for the living," he said quietly. "I just want them to live long enough to decide if I was wrong." Then came the signal. Faint. Broken. From the outer defense ring near Mars. The operator on the Vanguard turned pale. "Sir, incoming distress call from Station Echo 9. They're under attack." Ryan moved instantly. "Dominion?" The voice on the other end crackled through static. "Negative. Not Dominion. Earth defense ships, firing on us." Then the transmission cut off. The bridge went silent. Everyone turned to Ryan. "Earth's attacking its own?" Sarah whispered. Ryan's hands clenched. "No," he said darkly. "They're attacking us." Moments later, long-range scanners confirmed it. A massive Earth defense fleet was approaching, weapons hot. They were broadcasting a single message. "Admiral Ryan, you are ordered to surrender immediately. Power down your fleet." The crew looked at him, waiting for an order. Ryan closed his eyes for a long second. He remembered the council chamber, the promises of peace, the children running under Earth's sunlight. Then his voice came low and calm. "Do not fire first. Not unless they do." The minutes crawled by. The Earth fleet drew closer. Then, without warning, a beam of light cut through the void, slamming into one of Ryan's cruisers. The hull exploded in a burst of blue fire. "Return fire," Ryan ordered. Space erupted in chaos. Human fought human. The sky burned with plasma and metal. The Vanguard twisted through enemy lines, its guns blazing. The betrayal was complete. On Earth, the Council watched the battle feed in silence.
Ships exploding.
Soldiers dying. All human. "Stop it," Vale whispered. "For God's sake, stop it." But it was too late. The order had already been given. Back in orbit, the Vanguard's shields flickered under constant fire. "We can't hold," shouted Varen. "Too many of them." "Then fall back," Ryan said. "Head for the lunar gate. We regroup on the dark side." The fleet limped toward the moon, engines burning, leaving behind wreckage and silence. Out of 80 ships, only 40 made it through the gate. The rest were gone, destroyed by their own kind. As they entered the shadows of the lunar surface, the comms crackled again. But this time, it wasn't Earth. The Dominion's signal bled through, clear and cruel. "Humans," said Azaran's voice, echoing across every frequency. "You kill your own now. We couldn't have done it better." The bridge went silent. Everyone stared at the transmission. "They're mocking us," Sarah whispered. Rian's eyes burned. "No," he said. "They're warning us." Then the sensors lit up. Dozens of red markers appeared near Earth's orbit. Dominion ships, hundreds. The enemy had come while humanity was too busy destroying itself. Rian's heart sank. "They waited," he said softly. "They waited for this moment." He turned to his crew. "Signal the Council. Tell them it's too late for pride. The Dominion is here." But the message never reached Earth. The first Dominion strike hit the planet's outer defense grid minutes later. Explosions lit up the night sky like burning stars. The invasion had begun. On the Vanguard, Ryan stood before the viewport, watching Earth's blue light flicker under fire. His voice was calm but heavy with sorrow. "This is what mercy cost us," he said. "And now we'll pay in blood." As Dominion fleets descended, the Ghost Fleet prepared to rise one last time. Humanity had betrayed itself, and now the stars were coming to collect the debt. The skies above Earth were burning. What had once been a world of peace now glowed red and black, wrapped in fire. The Dominion fleet descended from orbit like a storm of shadows, their ships blotting out the stars. Entire cities turned to ash within minutes. The oceans boiled under plasma fire. The defense grid that had guarded humanity for a century collapsed like glass under a hammer. The end had come, fast and merciless. From the bridge of the Vanguard, Admiral Rian watched in silence. His reflection flickered against the window, framed by the flames of his homeworld. "Status," he said quietly. "Earth's orbital stations are gone," Captain Varen reported. "The Dominion controls the upper atmosphere. The Council's last transmission cut off 10 minutes ago." Rian nodded slowly. He already knew the truth. The leaders who once refused to fight were gone, buried beneath their own beliefs. For a moment he closed his eyes and let the silence fill him. He remembered the voices that had told him peace would last forever, that mercy was humanity's greatest weapon. Now all that remained of mercy was smoke and ruin. "Ready all ships," he ordered. "We go in." The Ghost Fleet, what was left of it, aligned behind the Vanguard. 40 ships, battered, scarred, but unbroken. Their engines flared like dying stars. "Admiral," Sarah said softly, "there's no chance of winning this. We're outnumbered 10-1. Rian turned to her, calm and steady. "Then we'll make it cost them 10 lives for every one of ours." The Vanguard broke formation and plunged toward the burning world below. The fleet followed, streaks of blue light cutting through the red haze. The Dominion ships turned to meet them like wolves circling prey. The void exploded into chaos. Beams of fire crossed the sky, tearing ships apart. Explosions flashed like lightning across the black horizon. On the surface, Earth's cities were gone, replaced by craters and shadow. The few remaining defense drones fought hopelessly, falling one by one. Civilians fled underground, praying to gods that no longer answered. The sound of battle echoed even beneath the earth, a thunder that shook the planet's bones. On the Vanguard, alarms screamed as enemy fire tore through the hull. "Shields failing," shouted Varan. "We can't take much more." "Keep fighting," Rian said. His voice never rose, even as the bridge shook around him. "We hold the line. Humanity doesn't run." One by one, Ghost Fleet ships fell. Each explosion painted the sky with fire, but not one retreated. They fought until the end, until the blackness swallowed their signals. Sarah's eyes filled with tears as she watched another ally vanish from the radar. "We're losing everyone," she whispered. Rian didn't answer. He was staring at the Dominion flagship, the Obsidian Crown, larger than any ship humanity had ever built, surrounded by an aura of burning light. Through the haze he could see it, massive and unyielding like a god descending from the stars. "There," he said. "That's where it ends." He opened a channel to all surviving ships. His voice carried through static, calm but full of fire. "This is Admiral Rian. You fought without fear, without orders, without mercy. You fought because no one else would. The Dominion thinks humanity has forgotten how to resist. Let's remind them." A chorus of voices answered him, some strong, some fading. "For humanity." The Vanguard charged straight at the Obsidian Crown. Plasma tore across its sides, but it didn't stop. Every gun fired, every missile streaked through the dark. The Dominion flagship returned fire, massive beams cutting through the void. Rian's ship shook violently. Panels burst, lights died, and smoke filled the bridge. But still they pushed forward. Sarah gripped her console. "We won't make it," she shouted. "Yes, we will," Rian said, his voice steady. "Just not back." As they neared the enemy flagship, Rian activated a locked sequence, Dawnfire Protocol. The ship's core began to glow, a deep blue light pulsing from within. The crew stared in silence as they realized what he was doing. "Admiral?" Varen whispered. "That will destroy everything within range." Rian nodded once. "That's the point." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "You'll kill yourself." Rian looked at her, a brief, almost gentle smile on his face. "Someone has to light the last fire." He turned back to the viewport. The Obsidian Crown filled the sky ahead, a fortress of darkness surrounded by thousands of enemy ships. Rian spoke softly, almost to himself. "You wanted to see what mercy costs," he said. "Now see what defiance earns." The Vanguard plunged into the heart of the Dominion fleet. Alarms screamed. Enemy ships scattered. Azaran watched from his throne as the human ship came straight for him. For the first time he felt something that wasn't pride or rage, and it was fear. Then, in the silence before impact, Rian closed his eyes and whispered, For Earth, the Vanguard's core ignited. A white light consumed the stars. The explosion tore through the Dominion armada, erasing ships, bending metal, shattering silence. The obsidian crown cracked apart, its hull splitting like glass. The shockwave spread for thousands of miles, cutting through space like fire through air. Then finally it faded, leaving behind only debris, ashes, and silence. Hours later, as the fires cooled, small fragments of humanity's ships drifted through the dark. Earth still burned below, but the invasion had stopped. The Dominion fleet was gone, destroyed in the same moment they had won. Azarin's body floated among the wreckage, his mask shattered. In his final breath, he whispered, "They chose war, and they became it." On the surface, the survivors looked up from the ruins, seeing the falling streaks of light across the night sky, the remains of their defenders. They didn't know it yet, but Admiral Ryan's sacrifice had saved them all. In that silence, humanity realized what it had lost, and what it had become. Mercy had fallen, but from its ashes something stronger was born, and somewhere, among the drifting wreckage of the Ghost Fleet, a single signal blinked faintly in the dark, a message repeating over and over: "Humanity endures.